What's going on, everyone? It's the Benchwarmers, and in this video, we'll predict the 49ers versus Rams matchup that's actually happening tomorrow. So we'll start off by giving an overview of both teams, then we'll provide some narratives, and then we'll finally predict both games. So starting off with an overview of the 49ers, they're 10-7, and they were the sixth seed in the NFC playoffs. They started 3-5, but they actually finished 7-2. So it's almost like it's a tale of two different teams. But I feel like that one decision that caused a switch was Kyle Shanahan's game plan. And I think they really started to utilize Deebo Samuel, and they basically turned him into a running back and wide receiver. So I think the 49ers have definitely figured out the best way to utilize the players in their offense. Just to dive into some of their players, starting off with their quarterback, Jimmy Garoppolo, he's been getting a lot of hate recently, and I understand the hate, but the fact is that he does his job, and that is winning. He wins games and he plays well when it matters the most. So I do agree he does need to step it up more and stop throwing so many picks and make better decisions. But I think he's been overhated recently, and I think people should have some more confidence in him. And just to go over their offense, also, they average 127 rushing yards per game, 250 passing yards, and they're actually the number 7 offense in the league. I think this is actually often overlooked, and people don't recognize the 49ers enough for their greatness on offense. And they're actually ranked higher than the Rams on offense, too. And this is because of guys like Deebo, Kittle, Ayuk, even guys like Jennings as well. I think they've been a very important parts of the 49ers offense, and they're just really talented players. And then when you look at the defense, they have a really phenomenal defensive line led by Nick Bosa, who had 15.5 sacks. They have really good linebackers. They have Fred Warner. They have Dre Greenlaw, he's solid too, and Aziz Al-Shaair. But their secondary is a little bit hit or miss. I think overall it's good. They have guys like Jimmy Ward, Jaquaski Tart, even K'Wan Williams and Emmanuel Mosley. But when you look at the left corner, that's really their only weak position because they have to start rookie Ambry Thomas, who he's had an interception, a big time interception against Aaron Rodgers, I believe. But other than Ambry Thomas, their other starter at that position would be Josh Norman, and he's 34 now. I think that's a huge weakness, and if the Rams can exploit that, it would be very bad for the 49ers. So then when you look at the 49ers the past 2 weeks, it was really good against they were really good against the Cowboys and the Packers overall. I would say their defense played phenomenally. They held Rodgers to 10 points and the Cowboys, the number one offense in the league, to 17 points. And when you look at their offense, I think this is where things start to get a little bit complicated. They played well against the Cowboys and put up 23 points, but I don't think they converted enough in the red zone. I think they really did squander some opportunities to score more points. And against the Packers, it was similar. Overall, their offense was really abysmal. They didn't get many opportunities. And even when they did have opportunities to score, they had turnovers. Jimmy G actually threw an interception in the red zone. I think that one really hurt the 49ers. But one factor in that was, I think, the weather. And I think in SoFi, not only are there going to be more 49ers fans, but also the weather won't be so snowy and bad. So I hope the 49ers can do better against the Rams in tomorrow's game.
Yeah, but then looking at the other team, the Rams, they were arguably one of the favorites going into the season, and they finished the season with a very strong 12-5 record, making them the 4 seed. I think they're arguably the most talented team in the NFL, just in terms of the players that they have. Like when you look at the offense, you have Matthew Stafford, who's been one of the best quarterbacks in the league for a while, but just never had the chance because he was on the terrible Detroit Lions. Now he's finally getting to play on a good team. You have Cooper Kupp, who had one of the best receiver seasons we've had of all time. And then OBJ, who is not the player he once used to be, but still shows that he has that same competitive spirit and a lot of that same talent that he did when he was on the Giants. So overall, especially when you look at the passing offense, it's very, very strong. But the running offense is not quite as good. Obviously, Cam Akers had that injury that had him out for the whole regular season, but he's back for the playoffs now, and that has improved the run game a bit. But then on defense, the talent is just as good. I mean, you have Aaron Donald, arguably the best player in the league, definitely the best at his position, and then Jalen Ramsey is also probably the best player at his position. They brought in Von Miller in free agency on a 1-year deal, and he's been statistically not that great, but he's definitely made a huge impact when you actually just watch his game. So overall, just like the defense is just as talented as the offense overall. And that's really shown in the playoff games that they've had so far. So they demolished the Cardinals 34-11. We thought they would win that game, but not by this margin. They actually had the Cardinals shut out going into halftime, and they only had allowed 200 yards of offense, and then from the Cardinals, and then their offense itself was very strong. And then when you look at their most recent game against the Bucks, that was even more impressive, arguably, because they had incredible defensive and offensive performances in the first half. They had a huge lead going into the half, but in the second half, they kind of choked. They really let Tom Brady back into the game, and fortunately for them, they managed to hold on. But they really should have won that game by a lot more, considering how well they played in the first half. So overall, this is a very, very talented team, but basically just the main concern for them is being able to finish games.
Yeah, and one important narrative going into this game is the fact that the 49ers have actually won 6 straight games. I think this is one of the longest streaks in the whole league of one team beating another team. And actually, Jimmy Garoppolo was the starter in all 6 of those games, so that definitely reflects the current 49ers team. I think that goes to show that the 49ers have definitely figured something out. I feel like at this point, it can't be some coincidence that the Rams are just cursed. I think the Niners have actually like found some sort of recipe for success. And I don't know why. Maybe it's because they signed guys like Samson Abukam from the Rams, who's like sharing intel. I don't know, but it just works out for the 49ers. But one thing that's important in terms of the 6 win streak is that in week 17, the game actually went to overtime. The 49ers were down 14 points at the half, which is never a good sign, but they still somehow won. And I think they almost lost to the Rams there. It was an incredibly close game, and the 49ers had some very clutch, big-time plays, even a little bit lucky at some points. So I think that 49ers offense will definitely have to step up in this game. I don't think they should allow the Rams to accumulate 14 points on them. I guess like the defense should also step up to this end, but especially the offense, since they only put up 3 points, and that was in the second quarter, up to that point in the half. So they definitely need to step up, especially someone whose name rhymes with Timmy Garoppolo. I feel like he needs, like, the 49ers have these really great drives, but he needs to stop making these big time mistakes. Like, he can make huge plays on third down. Like, he's pretty good overall, but I don't think he can turn the ball over in the red zone like he did last week against the Packers. I think he should also rely more on Kittle and Debo, but this one's a little bit more on Shanahan than Jimmy Garoppolo. I feel like in terms of the receiving game, they've been heavily underutilized. Instead of giving Debo these like pretty predictable, obvious 5-yard jet sweeps, they should just pass the ball to him, because I think people forget how talented of a receiver he is with 1,400 receiving yards, and same with Kittle. And I think I already touched on this earlier, but the 49ers defense will have to step up, namely the secondary. I think that was a huge problem with the Rams in that game. Cooper Kupp had over 100 receiving yards, and at some points in the game, he was just like wide open. I don't know how this guy does it, but Cooper Kupp knows how to get like completely wide open better than any other guy in the league. So I think like tying this back to the 49ers defense overall, I think if the D-line can step up as well and consistently pressure Stafford, they should be able to stop the problem of getting Cooper Kupp the ball at its root. But I think overall, the 49ers do have a lot of things to improve on, and they have a lot of moving parts. But if they all work together, I think the team will work like a well-oiled machine, and they will definitely come out victorious.
And now another important narrative to consider is whether anyone can stop Cooper Kupp. And at this point in the season, it seems like the answer is no. I mean, he's coming off one of the greatest regular seasons of all time. He almost caught Calvin Johnson's receiving yard record in a season. I think he missed out by just like 15 yards or so. And he also had a touchdown basically every single game. And he's also specifically hot right now because in the last game against the Bucks, he had 183 receiving yards, which is just crazy. And I mean, somehow that wasn't even the best receiving performance that week because of Gabriel Davis, of course, but it's still very, very impressive from Cooper Kupp. And then when you look at his performances against the Niners during the regular season, when they faced twice, given that they're division rivals, Cooper Kupp had at least 118 yards in both of those games. showing that really no one on the 49ers secondary was able to stop Cooper Cup. And that really makes sense when you look at this secondary. I mean, overall, you have a decent but not amazing group. You have good depth, Emmanuel Mosley and Quan Williams, who I think will probably be the two corners who are on Cup the most, and Ambry Thomas, Dante Johnson, Josh Norman. You've got a lot of players. And overall, they form a solid unit, but there isn't really one standout guy who can match up against one of the best receivers in the league. And that's why Cup has been able to perform so well against the Niners during the regular season. So I think that's going to be something that's going to continue to happen tomorrow. I don't see anyone really slowing Cup down. I think he's going to have at least like 100, maybe even 120 yards. And the 49ers will have to have some kind of reply with their own offense in order to counteract Cup's amazing performance.
And now to go over some predictions for the games. I have the 49ers winning 24-21. The Rams are actually expected to win. It's 60-40 according to ESPN. Even though they've lost 6 games in a row, I think it's kind of surprising that it still be 60-40, but I understand why. It's a completely different environment. It's the playoffs. It's the NFC Conference Championship. But I think there are just so many unthinkable things that happen when the Rams play against the 49ers. They go from like one of the best teams in the whole NFL to just like, I don't know, like maybe as bad as like Andrew's New York Giants. There's like really unthinkable things like Daniel Brunskill, completely run-of-the-mill offensive guard, and he just shut down 3-time Defensive Player of the Year, 7-time All-Pro Aaron Donald, and he didn't even let him get a single sack, and he had very few QB pressures. And I think that's just one of many examples of how the Rams are just cursed. And also at SoFi Stadium in LA, it's expected to be 65% 49ers fans and 35% Rams fans, just like it was in Week 18. And I think that will definitely be a big factor. That was one of the reasons why, like the home stadium advantage for the Packers. That's why the 49ers played so badly last week. And I think like this is basically a home game for the 49ers. And I think a lot of NFL teams know that Levi Stadium is really hard to play at. I think that similar environment is going to come to SoFi, and that's going to be a huge factor for the 49ers. So I think overall, there are just like so many small factors that I think the 49ers have that will go in their favor, like aside from just the talent of both teams and like how they actually play. And I think these will definitely play into the 49ers' benefit.
Yeah, I also think that the 49ers are going to keep this win streak alive. I have them barely winning 28-27. I think overall, I would say the 49ers are objectively a worse team. But when they matched up in Week 18, I thought the 49ers were objectively the worst team. When the 49ers played the Cowboys, I thought the 49ers were objectively the worst team. When the 49ers played the Packers, I thought they were objectively the worst team. But somehow, week after week, they managed to find ways to make big plays in big situations and just win games, even though they're not that talented overall. I mean, they do have a lot of talent, but I don't think they're on the same level as the Rams in terms of talent. So overall, I think on the opposite side, like the Rams are a team that have they basically have everything to lose. I think this is an all or nothing year for them because they have a ton of players on 1-year contracts. They have a ton of old players. They don't have any draft picks. They're not going to improve over the offseason. So for them, it's win or nothing. And I think that amount of pressure is really going to show, just as it did last week. I mean, they had a good first half, but then they choked under the pressure in the second half and were really, really lucky to come away with a win. So yeah, I can see pretty much the exact same thing happening again. Just the Rams choking under the pressure of both having to win this game and also just facing an opponent who has beaten you 6 times in a row. I mean, the 49ers are just in the Rams' heads, and I think that will really affect the Rams quite badly. And the 49ers will come away with their 3rd upset in a row in the playoffs. So that wraps it up for our prediction for the 49ers versus Rams game. We both have the upset predicted, so let us know whether you agree or disagree. Make sure to like and subscribe. This is the Benchwarmers, and we're signing out. See ya.